here we are. So I feel really excited about tonight. Two of my favorite fun people to hang around with in the Hendrix world are with us tonight. So, but I'll back up. So in case you're new tonight, my name is Michelle Yasuda, and I am the program director for the Big Leap Home online programs. And these programs support individuals, organizations, and communities in generating agency, connection, and creativity on our shared planet. And this is all under the umbrella of the Foundation for Conscious Living. And so the call that you're on tonight is one of the ways that we carry out this vision and mission. So thank you for joining us tonight. So I'm going to go over a few logistics and then we're going to get started on the call. If you have questions during the call tonight, feel free to throw those in the chat, but we're going to have question time at the end. So if you can hold those, maybe jot them down and hold them for the end, that'll be perfect. If you have anything burning issue or question, go ahead and put it in the chat. And if you put 3 question marks in front, that'll ensure that it gets seen. So I'd also like to welcome you to our Big Leap Home network. So if you have not joined us, we have an online gathering space for the Hendrix community. And in this platform, you can connect with the community, hear about the latest events, like something like tonight, and find tools and practices. We have posts every day with wonderful practices that you can use in your daily life. So I'll put the link in for that when I'm complete with my time here. So let's see, what else do I have? I have just 2 more things. So first, I'd like to invite you into a commitment. So when you hear these words, notice how they land in your body. We find that learning works best when we choose to bring curiosity, openness to learning, and appreciation of ourselves and others into the space. And the last thing I have here is to introduce our 2 facilitators tonight. And how we do that in the Big Leap Bridge world is through appreciation. And so I want to appreciate Kristina and Dhira together as a team. These 2 amazing, beautiful women. What I notice about you when you come together is that play is what do I want to say? Play is happening. Play is happening. This is a space for what I notice is sparks of discovery, and an open curiosity that both of you have, a willingness to play, come to the edge, be learning in public together as with the group. And I so appreciate each of you and your deep presence and your heart. And so I'm excited for tonight. The other thing I just realized before I turn it over is you 2 have created some amazing resources for the Hendrix community, for people, and one of the ones that we're going to be sharing tonight on the call. And I really, really appreciate the work that you do. I use your work in my work in the world, and I so appreciate both of you and your creativity. So I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to you, and let me know if you need anything from me.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate the space that you created here to welcome us all in to be able to play. And I want to remind everybody that you're signed up for a class called Fast Aid for Melting Fear in Relationships. So that's what we're playing with tonight. And we invited folks to come in relationship, any kind of relationship. So sibling, friends, romantic partner, whatever. And if you did, great. And if you didn't, also great, because we love to improvise. So we will find you a play partner to be able to experience and utilize the tools that we are sharing with you today. So with that, one more logistic is to let us know in the chat if there is somebody here that you are intending to interact with, to play with, right? And if you're on the same screen, go ahead and say the other person's name and then same screen in chat. And if you're on different screens, you're coming from different locations, different computers, if you could say the other person's name and then say, you know, 2 different screens. And that will just help us put you together when we go into breakout rooms. Okay. And if you don't have a partner, you can just say, I'd like a play partner in chat. All right, great. And so when you're in fear, when I'm in fear, what I've noticed about folks in fear is that we're only accessing the reptilian part of our brain. And when I'm scared, often when I'm only using that part of my brain, I see everything as a threat, which means I see my partner as a threat, right? I don't see them as an ally anymore. They're the problem. And I need to protect myself in some way. Yes. And when I'm in that space, and when we're in that space, we can't access our inspired, logical, or creative brain, part of those parts of our brain. So what we want to do, and what Kristina and I love to do, is start by getting friendly with our reptilian brain. To start by getting friendly with that part of us. And so we're going to actually play with those pieces and I'm going to share my screen, choosing, can you all see that? Do you see these dinosaurs? All right, great. We invite you to choose a dinosaur that you would like to represent your reptilian brain tonight. Okay, so just look at those dinosaurs and see, you know, maybe it's a little bit how you feel today, maybe it's a particular issue that you had with a partner and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of like that one tonight. All right. Let's see, I got to pick mine. Yeah, okay, got it. All right, I'm going to pull this down. And just remember that little dino. And now, I know most of us aren't on the screen, but I am going to invite you to turn on your screen, on your camera, if you feel comfortable doing that. Because what I'd like to do is I'd like to split us in half, and half of us are going to play out these dinosaurs, and half of us are going to cheer on the other half for showing us reminding us what it looks like to act from our reptilian brain. And then we're going to swap, and we're going to do the other half of the group gets to play it out, okay? And so let's have everybody whose name begins with A through, I don't know, what's the middle of the alphabet? O? Okay, I'm like, okay, do I know my alphabet? You all will go first. And if you want to leave your camera off, then that's fine too. So what we're going to do is go ahead and stand up, and I'm going to throw you some prompts. And I'd love for you to show us what your particular dino brain does when I toss you this prompt. All right, so you're going to act that out. So go ahead and get into character now. Like, what does it feel like in your body to be that dino? Mine was the armored one, kind of like this. And so what happens when you are feeling misunderstood? What do you do? And you're muted, so you can make sounds too if you want. Thanks, Carla. She's playing along, even though she doesn't have her camera on. Well done. And what happens to your dino brain when you're with somebody and you're disagreeing about what show or movie to watch? And how about when you're trying to figure out what kind of food to eat or takeout to get with a friend? And you're going through all the choices, and this person likes this, but you like that. And then how about when you're driving on the freeway with your mate or a friend, or you're riding in a car with them? Great. And one more. How about when you're getting ready for a date or to go out somewhere special, to celebrate something? You think your dino ever shows up at that? Awesome. Well done. The first group did such a great job. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and have a swap, and know that when we get to appreciate you for playing, it also helps us understand, even in our bodies, to witness other people playing these things out too. Since you might have a different dino than me. So go ahead and the next group, let's try some different prompts on. So go ahead and, what does your dinosaur feel like in your body? And what happens when you are interrupted by your partner or someone, a sibling or a child, when you're trying to focus? You're in the flow, or you're really trying to do a hard task, and they come up and interrupt you. Yeah. Great. And how about when you feel disgruntled about how a meeting is going? Like, has been an email, or are we going anywhere? Yeah. Exactly. All right. And let's go ahead and try on again. When you feel misunderstood, what does that look like? Nice, Tim. And then, just for fun again, when you're getting ready for a date or you're getting ready to go out somewhere special. Awesome. Well done. Thank you so much for playing that. So for everybody, just take a moment and notice your heart rate. Just do a little body scan. Notice the quality of your thoughts. Are they fast? You have a sort of fuzzy sensation. Yeah. Christina's showing us with her hands what's going on. Yeah, that's probably adrenaline coursing through. And you probably know what that feels like a little bit or a lot. And just notice if any of these sensations are familiar. Are those sensations familiar when you get into a disagreement or in a stuck place with your partner or friend? And you can pop any sensations or whether this is familiar or not into chat, so we can hear from you a little bit through that chat feature. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for stepping out there immediately and playing that with us. And toss it to Kristina.
I'm seeing Rhodes saying tight jaw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I notice my chest gets tight when I get in my dinosaur brain. There's this like feeling in here. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here and put up the chart, the handout that we created. I don't know how many of you had a chance to download this, but Michelle, did you put this PDF in the chat there? Great. So I created this chart when I was working with a couple, and I was seeing how much fear was affecting their partnership, and I wanted them to be able to see it. And so first I introduced to them that there's 4 basic types of fear: fight, flee, freeze, and faint. And each of those has a purpose in keeping us alive. So the purpose of fight is to move us into action to protect yourself. And that's a fear-based protection. And the purpose of flee is to move away from the scene in order to feel safe. And sometimes that can be as simple as like just turning your head away or turning your shoulder away so you could feel safer, backing up a little bit, or fleeing up into your thoughts. And the purpose of freezing is to stop, to avoid being hurt or seen. So if you start to feel something in your partnership and suddenly you find yourself without words, it's because something inside of you is scared of being seen or heard. And the purpose of faint is going limp to just survive this. Like if your partner is coming at you with an onslaught of criticism and you suddenly feel tired, that's faint fear. So when I was listening to this couple interact with each other, they were talking about the pandemic and how it was affecting their family. And I literally just wrote down phrases that they said in the first session with them. I just took lots and lots of notes. And all those phrases are what appear here on this chart. I didn't tell them what I was doing, but I came back the next week with this chart. And I said, do you recognize yourself in any of these kinds of fear? And they each spent, a minute looking, reading the list. And then, they said, well, I do this, I collect data and I'm always keeping score and you can't make me have your attitude. And the other person said, oh yeah, I just get this sinking feeling. I just feel drained whenever this topic of the pandemic comes up. I can't think, this is exhausting. And it was the first time that they were able to see that the reason they couldn't talk about the pandemic with each other was because they were both in fear, but very different kinds of fear. And it was like big light bulbs went off and they started to be able to relate to each other with compassion. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you were feeling scared about this. And so now I use this with not just couples, but any group of people that's trying to relate to each other and they're in conflict. And I want to invite you right now to look at these lists and notice. If you have it printed out, you could circle it. Or if you're just looking at it on the screen, you could jot down. What do you typically do when you are disagreeing with your partner or in conflict, when a conflict comes up? Which type of fear do you gravitate towards? And do you relate to any of these statements, or else you could fill in how else you fight or flee or freeze or faint? And I'm going to give you a minute here to just look, read, sense, jot down, because we're going to use these in the activity we play with each other. You're really looking for how does your dinosaur brain show up in relationship to your partner? And if you want, you can jot down in the chat what you do. I see Ada just put in here. Great.
And I'm curious, what's a phrase that you might say then to Ada? If you could pop that in the chat, do you have a phrase that you might hear yourself say frequently for one of those fears? And then you could also write that down in the right category. Kind of like these phrases here. I just need space.
Or I'm feeling overwhelmed. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Think we're ready to go into breakout rooms?
I think so. I think we're priming the pump here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have you go in a breakout room with a foursome, and we're just going to give you 10 minutes to talk about, what you circled on the chart or what you jotted down, anything that you notice about what your go-to category of fear is and which one pops up first, and what do you say to your partner? What do you say internally to yourself? And then what happens in your body, to share whatever's coming to mind here about what you're noticing about your fear pattern when you're in conflict.
There's a few questions to consider in your conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, we're going to do a partner activity so that you can play even more with this concept of the purpose that your fear has, the motivation. I'm stumbling for words, Dhira. I just froze. My pterodactyl just froze. Yeah. What Dhira and I have been discovering is that there's a shortcut in relationship.
Did she just
what happened?
disappear?
She just disappeared.
Okay, I have to tell you something about Kristina. Kristina is very powerful, like energetically. And so when she's got a lot of energy, sometimes she just like breaks the internet. Like I'm not kidding you. She does. So she'll be back.
That is funny.
I trust that she will be back. She'll do some fear melters and come on back. So yeah, so we're going to play with particularly, even if you're familiar with fear reactions and fear melters, we're going to focus on the motivations behind those fears. That's what we've been talking about. And so I'll pop the motivations into chat just so you can see those again. Those are at the top of your handout of your different categories. And I think we'll just go, and when I do this, when I declare that I am doing this motivation, it is a very powerful way to step out of a victim and into taking responsibility, into your power. And it's like a really great first step to moving towards reconnecting with your partner. And so what we're going to do is practice doing this, practice declaring this. And so if I could get if I could perhaps request Michelle and Dean to do a demo with me. Great, thank you. And what we're gonna do, and you can, if you know how, you can pin them if you want to make them bigger so you can see them. Or Michelle, if you want to spotlight yourself, it's up to you.
Was that a voluntold?
Yeah, it was totally a voluntold.
Oh, yes,
So
we're willing. I will pin. Oh, there we go. Whoever just did that. Thank you.
let's
I
explore.
did that.
Oh, is she back?
She's back.
Okay, welcome back.
Yeah,
Christina.
I'm back. Thank you. I don't know what happened.
I let them know what happened. I'll explain it later. I'm gonna go into the demo now with Michelle and Dean. So
That's fine.
So Michelle, would you be willing to be explorer for this? And Dean, you're going to be her play partner. And so Michelle, go ahead and pick one of those statements that is like you maybe find as a typical go-to or that you've experienced recently. You got it?
Nope. Give me a sec.
Yep. You got it right.
Let's see. I mean, that's like constant. Okay, I've got one.
All right. And now maybe turn towards Dean. You're going to be playing with him and you guys can turn towards each other. Great. And go ahead and declare your reaction statement, not the motivation, but the one you just picked out, the statement that you say.
Okay. Oh, actually, I'm going to do a different one.
Okay.
I feel tense.
Okay. I feel tense. Great. And now declare your motivation behind it. And that would be at the top of whatever category.
Oh, I am stopping being seen.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or
yeah. I'm stopping to avoid being.
Oh, I'm stopping to avoid being seen or hurt. I'm stopping to avoid being seen or hurt.
Yeah. And now maybe to have a little fun with this, while you say that, go ahead and embody your dino. How does your dino stop to avoid being seen?
Oh, let's see.
And then go ahead and say the motivation. I'm stopping. You can even use a dino voice.
I'm stopping to avoid being seen or hurt.
Yeah. And then well done. And then just one more sentence. What's happening in my body is
what's happening in my body is everything's compacting like a garbage compactor.
Well done. And this is your invitation to read, or if you know it off the top of your head, Dean, the fear melter for her freeze. So you're inviting her to begin to do that. And so I'll read it for those who don't know. So it's on the back of your handout. It's just wiggle to melt the freeze. So begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers, and Dean's doing it with her because she's an excellent partner. And wiggle your hips and then into your shoulders. And then to unfreeze fully, you'll want to wiggle all the way to the core of you. Nice. So Dean would lead her through that, and then Dean would then go and prompt her with the next. Actually, Kristina, could you put this in chat? The instructions.
Yes. Yes.
Then the next part, Dean, you would help her by inviting her to explore in different tones. I'm willing to wiggle to melt my freeze.
Oh.
And
So I'm saying,
Yeah, that's
oh, okay.
yeah.
You're inviting her.
You're prompting me to say?
Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead, Michelle. I did it, but that would be Michelle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm willing to wiggle to melt my freeze.
Nice. And then Michelle, the next one that Dean would invite you to do is, and what I really want is, and then fill in the blank.
And what I really want is to dance.
Oh. Oh. And then if you want to go all the way, you could do, I commit to, and then what are you willing to commit to going forward?
I commit to embodying joy and aliveness.
Woo! Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For willing to do that.
So fun.
So
That's good.
this is going to be a 10-minute breakout with a play partner, whether it's someone you brought or somebody that is here also excited to play. And we're going to paste instructions into the chat. So all you should have to do is follow the steps. And just to summarize, the explorer is going to declare their statement like, I'm right. They're going to declare their motivation for their fear. I'm moving into action to protect myself. And to have fun, you could add in the dino, because that's what really starts to break things up. And then what's happening in my body? So to say what's happening in your body. And then you'll go into the fear melter. And then you can play with those statements at the very end. All right. Welcome back. I'm imagining that might have been a bit of a journey, and we have 4 minutes until the end of our time together. So I'd like to hand it over to folks who maybe have questions or comments, experience you want to share.
I'll share a discovery I had. When we were oozing, I suddenly realized that sometimes when I'm oozing, it's almost like I'm still fighting because I'm trying too hard and I'm not softening. And so it was like just when we were playing together that I had that realization that like, oh, wait a second, sometimes the fight is like still sticking in there. Yeah, it's trying to, yeah, exactly. Like I was watching him and I thought that looks tight, and I was doing the same thing. And I thought, oh, how can I soften that and lighten that? So that was fun.
Reason why I think I know I like to do something like playing with like the invitation to play with your dino, because then it becomes less of like a mechanical exercise of like, okay, now I'm going to, it's like, oh, dino, oh, that's silly, oh, you know, it breaks things up for me.
I have a question. I born and raised in China. I have a really angry family. My dad is kind of like a little bit reactive, and in the way that my default is flee, because I want avoiding conflict. If I'm not being seen by him, like I don't need to take the blame and take the fight. How do you deal with people who are unaware of the anger, the fear, and wasn't able to communicate? Even I commit to be respect. Like my underneath need is to be heard, to be understand, to be respect. Like understand why I leave the home, leave the house, move to United States by myself, and married to a foreign man. I committed to communicate, but he is demanding I'm wrong. I just like betrayed my roots, betrayed my, my family by leaving him in China. Like how you communicate with people who have not had this knowledge, this tool, and also by default holding certain perspective or value to the heart.
That's such a big question. For me, Ada, I learn by practicing with the people who do receive me. And the more I practice with them, the more I build up kind of an inner resilience that enables me sometimes to be able to respond playfully with someone who is being in fight and doesn't know it. You know, sometimes I can have just a little edge of something playful or mischievous in a twinkle in my eye, or a breath that I'm taking, an awareness that I have. Oh, I can breathe even when I'm with this energy over there. But it takes time and lots of practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And you saying that, Kristina, also made me think of like, sometimes the other person isn't even responsive to like a twinkle in your eye, like they're so scared. And so there's also just a level of, when I can acknowledge that in myself, like when I'm really feel fight and scared and play with that, then I can also be able to see and acknowledge and potentially bring some, like, I don't know what the right word is, compassion or empathy, like, wow, you are really scared. And you might not say that out loud, but for me, it's helpful for me to go, oh, they're really scared. Oh, and I'm feeling scared too, and they're really scared. And sometimes that in the moment that opens up space within me to find the right words that will connect me to that person. That makes sense.
Yeah, in theory it's easier.
Oh,
In the
sure.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have, I have a father who will kind of go off in that, like, like a political rant that get really amped up and like be like, and what are you, and what are you, and what are you? And it's taken me a lot of practice and a lot of time to come home to myself, breathe, do some of the fear melters, within my body, or make them small if I'm still scared of being seen, and think and allow that space for inspiration for like, oh, what does he really want here? Like, how does he even want to connect? Because if they don't, then there's not really much to do in that moment except for breathe and take care of yourself.
Yeah,
I would add, maybe asking, if I can, just something that came to my mind is, maybe not continuing with that conversation at that time if they're very, fear bound, and say, let's talk again when we're able to talk, in a calm manner or whatever. That sometimes helps too. And then asking, are you, I think setting like a willingness, are you willing next time we talk to talk civilly, or, that might help as well. Seeing if they're willing. And that's helped me with, I won't say who, but a very difficult person. And, I asked them if they're willing to have an agreement that when we talk, blah, blah, blah. And they said no at first, but then they thought about it and they said, okay. And then it was better from that then on in. And it was someone I thought would never do that, but they did do that. And it helped with my situation. So maybe that will help with yours.
Thanks, Maria. I appreciate that, probably this question has stirred up a lot for a lot of you. And the Mighty Networks is a great place to have a discussion about this and go deeper. And we invite you to go there and do that.
Yes, definitely. I put the link in the chat. Just
thanks, Michelle.
Not on there.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah. So I love this topic, and I think we could continue it. I want to thank both of you. I'll toss it back to you to end, but I want to thank both of you for an amazing, beautiful, wonderful class. We had a great time, Dean and I. And I love this. I love what you did tonight, and I really, really appreciate it. And I feel like this is going to be so helpful to so many people. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Dhira, you're muted.
Yeah. Thanking everyone for coming and play.
Yeah, much appreciation.
Yeah, thank you so
Continue
much. everyone.
playing.
Yay. All right. I see a little bit more comments in the chat. Yeah. So we'll see you on the Mighty Networks and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank
so,
you.
so much to everyone.
Love
Mwah.
scoops to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Good night.
you. Bye-bye.
Sending you good
Bye.
vibes.
See you, Tim.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye, Dhira.